What if I told you that the greatest threat to a nation is not its enemies, not war, not famine, not even failure, but success? Because success does something dangerous. It makes people relax. And when people relax, they stop paying attention. And when they stop paying attention, they drift. And by the time they notice, everything is already gone. This is not just a story about victory. This is a story about what happens after. This is the story of Joshua. And if you listen closely, you will realize this is not ancient history. It is a pattern, and it repeats again and again. It begins with a death when Moses died, the most dangerous moment in Israel. History began. Not the Red Sea, not the wilderness, not the battles. This moment, because everything was about to be tested, their faith, their discipline, their identity, without the man who held it all together. Now imagine this clearly, a nation that depended on one voice, suddenly without it, no backup, no transition, just silence. And here's the first hook. Most people think crisis reveals weakness. It does not. Transition does. Because when everything changes, you find out what was real and what was just being managed. God speaks, Moses is dead. No soft words, no emotional support, just truth. Because truth moves things forward. Now you arise, and just like that, responsibility shifts. And here is where the pressure begins. Because stepping into something great is not about ability, it is about weight. Joshua had seen miracles, but now he had to carry outcomes. And outcomes are heavy because people will follow you into victory, but they will blame you in failure. And before Joshua could say anything, God speaks directly into his fear. Be strong, be courageous. Again, be strong, be courageous again. Be strong, be very courageous. Why repeat it? Because fear repeats itself. So courage must also. And here is the deeper hook. God did not remove fear. He gave Joshua something bigger than it, responsibility. Now watch this carefully, because this is where everything changes. God did not say, be skilled, be strategic, be powerful. He said, obey. Do not turn, do not adjust, do not drift. Because small deviations create massive consequences, and most people miss this. Life is not usually destroyed by big decisions. It is destroyed by small, consistent shifts. Joshua moves fast because delay gives fear. Time to grow. In 3 days we move. Action replaces hesitation. Then he says something powerful. You will fight for each other, because unity is strength, division is silent defeat. Then the spies go into Jericho, and here is where tension flips. Instead of fear, they find fear in the enemy, which means something important. God had already moved before they did. You are often walking into situations that are already shifting. You just cannot see it. Then Rahab, an outsider. But clarity does not always come from the inside. Quick. She believed before she saw, and that belief saved her. Now the Jordan flooded, unstable, dangerous, and God says something that feels wrong. Step. And this is where most people stop, because nothing changes immediately. And here is the psychological truth. If results do not come fast, people assume it is not working, but God works differently. Movement first, then manifestation. The priests step in. Nothing, another step still. Nothing, now doubt grows louder. But then contact, and everything shifts. The river stops, not gradually, instantly. And here is the deeper layer. The miracle started upstream, out of sight, which means God can already be solving something you think is still a problem. They cross, and now you expect war, but instead preparation. Because rushing into victory without preparation creates collapse, circumcision, pain before progress, Passover. Remember before you move. Then manna stops, and this is critical. The miracle they depended on ended because growth requires change. And here is the hook. What once sustained you may not sustain you where you are going. Then Joshua sees the man with the sword and asks, "Are you on my side?" And the answer breaks human thinking. Neither, because God is not here to support your plan. You are here to align with his then Jericho. This is where most expect action. Instead, repetition, walking silence. Nothing happening, and this is where most people fail. Not in difficulty, but in boredom. Because when nothing changes, people stop day one, nothing, day two, nothing, day three, nothing. And here is the hook. The test is not the battle, it is the waiting. But Joshua keeps going, and on the seventh day, everything collapses. Because obedience reached its timing. Then comes the twist. The real danger, not the enemy, but one man, Achan. And here is the truth. One private decision can affect thousands. He hides it, but hidden things grow. The next battle, failure. Fear returns. Joshua asks why, and God answers, not them. You, because internal issues destroy external success. Achan is exposed, removed, and only then progress returns. Then, a deception, not force, but manipulation. And Joshua makes a decision without God. You can be successful and still make costly mistakes. And some mistakes do not disappear. They stay. Then war intensifies. Pressure increases. Time runs out, and Joshua speaks, and time stops. Because when alignment is complete, limits shift. Victory continues, city after city, king after king, until rest comes, but not fully. Because incomplete obedience always leaves residue, and residue grows. Years pass quietly, and this is the most dangerous phase. No crisis, no pressure, just normal life. Normal life is where most people lose everything, because nothing forces them to stay disciplined. Joshua sees it, and he warns them not about enemies, but about drift. Choose, because if you do not choose unintentionally, you will drift automatically. Then he says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. The people respond quickly, too quickly, and Joshua stops them. You are not ready because they thought commitment was easy. It is not. It is daily. It is consistent. It is costly. Then Joshua dies, and here is the quiet shift. Everything holds for a moment. Then slowly it breaks. A new generation that does not remember. You do not lose what matters in one moment. You lose it gradually, quietly, without noticing, until it is gone. Joshua won battles. He conquered land. He commanded the sun, but he could not control what came after him. And that leads to one final question. Not for them, for you. When nothing is forcing you, when life is stable, when no one is watching, will you stay aligned, or will you drift? Because that is the battle you are in right now.